In the golden halls of Asgard, Odin the Allfather sat upon his high throne, Lidskjalf, his ravens, Hugin and Munin, perched beside him. Through his single eye he gazed across the 9 realms, seeing all that was and much that would come to pass. The weight of knowledge pressed upon him like a mountain, for he knew of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, and felt the insufficiency of his current wisdom to prevent it. His ravens whispered to him of the runes, those mystical symbols that held the deepest secrets of creation and destruction. They spoke of power beyond even his divine understanding, of wisdom that could reshape fate itself. But such knowledge, they warned with their black eyes gleaming, came at a price that even the gods might hesitate to pay. Beyond the shimmering rainbow bridge of Bifrost stood Yggdrasil, the mighty world tree whose branches supported all of creation. Its trunk rose impossibly high, disappearing into the clouds and stars themselves, while its roots delved deep into the wells of wisdom and fate. The great ash tree hummed with ancient power, its leaves rustling with the voices of destiny. Odin approached the colossal tree with slow, measured steps. At its base, the Norns, the 3 sisters of fate, wove the threads of all existence. They looked up at him with knowing eyes, but spoke not a word, for they understood why he had come. The tree itself seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if it too knew that this moment would echo through all the ages. The voice of Yggdrasil resonated not in his ears but in his very soul, speaking truths that mortal tongues could never utter. The runes it revealed were not merely symbols to be learned, but pieces of cosmic law that must be earned through absolute sacrifice. To gain their power, one must give up everything: comfort, safety, even the certainty of survival. Odin understood with crystalline clarity what was required of him. He must offer himself to himself, become both sacrificer and sacrifice, abandoning all the privileges of his divine station. For 9 days and 9 nights, he would surrender to the tree's ancient power, taking neither food nor drink, embracing the threshold between life and death where true wisdom dwelled. With solemn purpose, Odin took the sacred cord and bound himself to the great tree's trunk. The rope was woven from the hair of goddesses and the breath of fish, strong enough to hold even the father of the gods. As he secured himself to Yggdrasil's ancient bark, he felt the tree's timeless strength flowing into him, connecting him to the very foundations of existence. The wind began to howl through the branches above, carrying with it the voices of spirits and the echoes of unborn prophecies. Odin closed his single eye and surrendered himself to the ordeal that awaited. In this moment of binding, he became neither fully god nor mortal, but something between, a seeker suspended between all certainties. The first days passed like centuries as hunger gnawed at Odin's divine form. His ravens circled overhead, calling to him with worried cries, but he could not answer. The wind stripped moisture from his lips, and the sun blazed mercilessly while the cold of night bit deep into his bones. Yet still he remained bound, his will unbroken, his purpose unwavering. Below him, the roots of Yggdrasil pulsed with the rhythm of cosmic heartbeats. He could feel the tree drawing him deeper into its mysteries, each moment of suffering opening new channels of perception. The physical pain became a doorway, and through it he began to glimpse the hidden patterns that governed all things. As the nights grew longer and his strength ebbed like a retreating tide, Odin's consciousness began to expand beyond the boundaries of ordinary perception. In his mind's eye, he saw the births of stars and the deaths of worlds, witnessed the first spark of creation and the final silence that would follow Ragnarok. The visions came in waves, each one revealing deeper layers of cosmic truth. Through the darkness, he perceived the well of Erd beneath the tree's roots, where the Norns drew water to nourish Yggdrasil each day. He saw Mimir's well of wisdom, where he had once traded his eye for a single drink. Now he understood that all these sacrifices were but steps on a greater path, preparing him for this ultimate moment of surrender. On the 7th day, Odin felt himself slipping toward the shadowy realm of Hel, his own daughter's domain of the dead. His divine essence flickered like a candle in the wind, and for moments at a time, he existed more in death than in life. Yet in this liminal state, suspended between existence and void, he found a clarity that surpassed even his previous wisdom. The boundary between self and cosmos began to dissolve. He was the tree, he was the wind, he was the very fabric of reality itself. In this state of near dissolution, he sensed something vast approaching, a presence that existed beyond gods and mortals, beyond life and death. The runes themselves were stirring, preparing to reveal their secrets to one who had proven worthy through ultimate sacrifice. As the ninth night reached its darkest hour, when death seemed poised to claim even the All-Father, a great silence fell across all the 9 realms. In that perfect stillness, Odin heard something that no being had ever heard before: the true names of the runes themselves, spoken by the voice of creation. Each name resonated through his being like thunder, carrying with it the power to shape reality itself. 24 runes revealed themselves to him, not as mere symbols but as living forces of cosmic law. He saw how they could be combined to work magic, to heal or to harm, to reveal hidden truths or to bind fate itself. The knowledge flooded into him like a torrent, filling the void left by his sacrificed mortality with divine understanding beyond anything he had possessed before. With strength born of newfound wisdom, Odin began to chant the first rune song ever spoken. His voice, though weakened by 9 days of ordeal, carried a power that made the very foundations of Yggdrasil tremble. Each word he spoke was a rune, each rune a key to unlock the mysteries of existence. The song spiraled upward through the branches and downward through the roots, touching every realm of creation. As he sang, the rope that bound him began to loosen, not through any physical force but through the power of the runes themselves. He had become something new, no longer just Odin the God King, but Odin the Rune Master, bearer of the deepest secrets of the cosmos. The sacrifice was complete, and the transformation had begun. As dawn broke on the 10th day, Odin freed himself from the world tree with movements that seemed to bend reality around him. He was transformed. His remaining eye now blazed with the fire of runic wisdom, and his very presence hummed with newfound power. The ordeal had burned away his mortal limitations, leaving him reborn as something greater than he had ever been before. Yggdrasil's branches rustled in what seemed like applause, and even the Norns paused in their weaving to acknowledge his achievement. The tree had accepted his sacrifice and found it worthy. In return, it had granted him not just knowledge, but the power to use that knowledge to shape the fate of gods and mortals alike. Odin did not keep the rune's power for himself alone. As he walked back toward Asgard, he began to share fragments of runic wisdom with worthy mortals and gods alike, teaching them to carve the sacred symbols into wood and stone. Through his sacrifice, the gift of written language and magical knowledge spread throughout all the 9 realms, transforming civilization itself. Yet the greatest runes, those that could alter the very fabric of fate, these he guarded carefully, knowing that such power must be earned through sacrifice and wisdom. The path to the deepest mysteries would always require something of the seeker, just as it had required everything of him at the foot of the world tree. From that day forward, Yggdrasil bore the marks of Odin's sacrifice, its bark scarred where he had bound himself in his quest for wisdom. The world tree became forever after a symbol of the price of knowledge and the power of willing sacrifice. Seekers would come to it in later ages, hoping to glimpse even a fraction of what the All-Father had gained through his ordeal. The runes themselves spread throughout the worlds, carved into weapons and worn as talismans, written in great books and whispered in sacred rituals. But always, those who used them remembered that they were born from the greatest sacrifice in the history of the gods, when Odin gave himself to himself at the foot of the world tree, and in return gained the power to read and write the very language of creation.